let's talk about Ollie Woodburn.
Oh, gosh. Do you not want to do this on social media? That's where everyone else is doing. I just refuse to talk about it now. Not because it's corporate James, just because I can't go there. I mean...
Well, and it's going to... You know who!
11 can't dive on a man on the floor. He's already been tackled. By what he's done, he stopped a possible try being scored by pushing him into touch. So it's going to be a yellow card and a penalty try. This player's already been yellow carded, so it'll be a red card.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Shall we set the scene a little bit? Because, again, like the irony in what happened at the weekend to Exeter, and we did kind of paper over what happened. They had 62 points put on them. 62. Like, it's a lot, all right? It's a lot of points to have put on you.
You never had 62 put on you?
Never. I don't think ever. Genuinely, ever. 58.
What about
58.
What about with Wasps?
Was it 60?
I'm sure it was 61.
I think it was 58.
Yeah.
It was never 62, though. That's a lot of points. So in the lead up to that, there's all this talk around the red cards. We know Exeter have been stung. Well, a lot of teams have been stung on the red cards. So Rob Baxter, the irony in this, did an article with the Times, and I'll just quote a few things about it, but he spoke about the need to reduce high frequency of red cards. We're doing some weird things in rugby other sports don't. You have to make adaptations, but what you don't do is destroy the game on the field. So Rob Baxter did that interview last week, and then you look at what happened at the weekend with Ollie Woodburn's red card. I understand why it is a red card because
it's two yellows, isn't it?
Well, yeah,
like
it's a penalty.
The first one is a blatant yellow card,
Yeah.
not the slap down. He's gone on it with one hand, and I love the way he then tries to put his other hand up after he's realised he's slapped it down, so he's pretending he's gone up with two. So you can't argue about the first yellow card. It is a slap down, straight yellow.
But that one there, if Carl Dixon sees that as a penalty, then it's a penalty try because he would have scored a try if it wasn't an infringement of penalty. Therefore, if it's a penalty try, it's an automatic yellow card and red card. So that's the framework on a very snapshot around that. Then the debate comes whether or not it's even a penalty because really players could dive from 8 metres out if it's not a rubber pitch, if it's a grass wet pitch, and there's no way of tackling him. And that's the argument and the debate around it. Do you want to ask me what I think if it's a yellow card?
Go on.
No. I don't think it's a penalty. So that's my opinion. But I commentated on a URC game last year, an Ulster game, I think it was.
Your tweet was brought up, wasn't it, James?
What? In where? In the news?
I saw someone tweeted or retweeted your tweet
from last year.
From the Glasgow game, last year.
I think it might have been Glasgow Ulster. So there's another scenario in that game as well where there was a yellow card penalty try, similar action, which I didn't think should have been. And this is the thing at the minute where I understand what Rob Baxter's saying, like you're cannibalising your game. If that's me saying that, not Rob. But I understand that because effectively, we've seen it, 62 points. And you could say that Ollie Woodburn's one of their best players, if not their best player, on the wing and the effect that had on it. So, but again, I understand if the referees are being told that is an illegal action.
Well, as Michael Holford used to say, rules is rules,
Rules
Jim.
is rules.
And I get it. Like I look at it and I watched it back and I thought, what's he looking for here? And then as he explains it, Carl Dixon is 100% right in the definition of the law. But the interesting thing about Carl Dixon is if you rewind your mind back earlier in the season when Harlequins played Bristol at home, right? And there was the whole thing about the Joe Marler incident. Do you remember that one? Carl Dixon was refereeing it.
He didn't hear it.
Yeah, exactly. But Andre Esterhazen makes a break with a minute to go. He's clean through. He gets tackled by AJ McGinty. He's sliding after the tap tackle. And the Bristol reserve scrum half, who I think it was Whiteley at the time, ex-Saracen scrum half, comes and dives on top of him, dislodges the ball, right? The ball spills. Carl Dixon's referee, in the same season as this season, calls it a knock-on. Doesn't give the same law interpretation that he gave against Ollie Woodburn. So that's where people have got issues, right? Where one week you can see it and it's play on. Next week you can see it and Carl Dixon gives a yellow card and then a red card and a penalty try. And you can understand everything. I can understand why you wouldn't want to give a yellow card and a penalty try. You could argue that Stuart Hogg was going to take him into touch anyway, but the fact that he's added into it, and maybe in the back of Carl Dixon's mind is, someone's brought up the incident earlier in the season with that Quins Bristol game at the Stoop. He's an ex-Quins player, and people were pointing the finger at him a little bit for not going hard on Marler or saying he didn't hear it. But actually, game-deciding moment when Esterhazen's broken through, and go back into the archives and watch it. I think it's Whiteley that comes and jumps on him on the floor, dislodges the ball, and Carl Dixon gives it a knock on to Bristol against Andre Esterhazen. Bristol win the game. So I think that was something that was played on his mind a bit from decisions, and referees remember decisions that they think they've got wrong and they've been analysed. And I think that's played a part into why Woodburn got sent off. And it is crazy, but it is the law. And I think the law needs to be tweaked around it to say that if there's foul play involved in it, so if it's a high tackle or you're over the shoulder or you're not using your arms, that sort of thing, then you can yellow card it. But there might need to be a tweak in the law for it. But in his defence, Carl Dixon, and I don't like defending Carl Dixon, he was actually letter of the law. He was right to do it, whether it feels right, looks right, or not. These is the rules, unfortunately. And I think where Corporate James can come in and help is tweak some of the laws, James.
Yeah, I don't think Rugby. I've got any pull or push on any of them. But with that one specifically, it's because of the distance where it looks like something's happened. But again, just back to all the rugby that we watch, like you see players diving at players on the floor when they're over the try line to stop the ball being grounded. So there's no real difference if they're saying that you can't do that. And these are the small things in rugby which are the big things, which again, I keep talking about casual fans, Corporate James engaging the wider audience. But I think if nothing's given there, no one's complaining. That's what that's how I look at it. I think if that try-saving tackle is not given, everyone's talking about how good the tackle is. I don't think there's many people saying that should have been a yellow card, a penalty try, and off the back of that, Woodburn sent off. And I think that's what we need to be thinking is yes, there's laws and rules, and it is a very superficial statement to make. But if most people are thinking, right, that isn't, then in your mind, you've got to be, not him, not Carl Dixon now, because by the letter of the law, he's done what he thinks is and potentially is, whether or not I agree or not. But I just think there needs to be open ears listening to how we can try and improve that area. Because again, you go back to the game, don't want to use the terminology dead, but once he goes off, it's a 62-point game, and it's effectively ruined the spectacle.
Pod.
Rugby pod.